Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my worm deck. Now worms are generally just about flip effects. Usually the standard builds don't run too many of the cards. There's actually a really lot of worm monsters that all have different effects, but usually you just run a few of them that make the deck work and you don't really run all like 26 of them that I think there are. But generally the standard worm build focuses on a few monsters that give you some hand advantage and load the field up and set things up really well. So first off, Worm Cartaros just allows you to search out the worms, very nice. Also because it activates on flip, which is really nice. Worm King, running 3 of this, you can run less if you want. The boss of this deck pretty much just allowing you to wipe, whatever you want on the field by tributing your worms. And with how you can get your worms out pretty easily, it's very nice. And how you can get this card out is pretty crazy too. And then the 2 worms that kind of make this deck work, Yagan and Zex. So Yagan's really cool because you can special summon him when you have Worm Zex out, allowing you to set up the field really nicely. And also his 1800 defense, and he sends a monster back to your opponent's hand, which is really nice. So you'll be setting things up for what you need to do later on. And then Worm Zex, so he allows you to send things to the graveyard. Obviously you can see the play right there. Worm Zex sends Yagan to the graveyard, and then you can set up the field very easily, which is very nice. And then once the Yagan's flip face up, Zex can't be destroyed by battle. So you're going to start to create a really nice field situation, and you have backup for defense. And then some of the few support, we have Honest with a light-based deck, Evil Dragon and Adu with a reptile-based deck, Thunder King Rai-Oh, Tsukuyomi, very useful in this type of deck, allowing you to use those flip effects, which are very important for this deck. Not running too many monsters in this deck, it focuses on the few monsters you have. So we have a lot of spells, Pot of Duality, MST, Forbidden Lance, Book of Moon, Dark Hole. Traps, a lot of stable traps, a lot of traps overall. Offering to the Snake Deity, very powerful in this deck. And kind of the worm staple trap, W Nebula Meteroite. So this one's very powerful. So this one just flips all the face down monsters to face up, which is very nice. Face up defense. And then you get to draw, which usually you'll get a good amount of cards based on, what your field situation is. And then you can special summon your Worm King, which is very powerful. So you're setting up the field, giving yourself draw power, and you have access to destruction effects. So this allows some very crazy combos, and this is really the power of the deck, is you can abuse this card very nicely. So for the extra deck, I'm just going to have some pretty expected 4-star XYZs. Starliege with a light-based deck, 2 of them. King of the Feral Imps with a reptile-based deck. Omega again with a light-based deck. Photon, Gagaga, Diamond Direwolf, a bunch of staples. I got the new ones in here. Exciton Knight and Silent Honor. With a Constellar, we have Ptolemy as well, and Gaia Dragon. And also Wind-Up Zenmaister. Zenmaister is just really good for this deck because of how it changes battle positions. Very nice. So now for the side deck. Again, side decks in my videos are just recommended cards that I didn't put in here, but can also work really well with the deck, and I'm going to talk about why that is. So you can run a Chaos Engine in this deck, and I already have some of those cards that like Evil Dragon and Tsukuyomi. So you can set up the deck in a way where you can run a Chaos Engine. It won't hurt the deck that much. You can just run a few less traps or a few less spells. But one of the examples that you can use with this is Tour Guide, which will let you, bring out those 3-star XYZs. Gen X Ally Birdman is very powerful in this deck. This is just another alternative for how you want to run this deck. You can use this card, you can run more Chaos, you can run some Synchro, change the extra deck a bit. Gen X Ally Birdman can be very useful, obviously to reuse some effects as well. Again with that, Kegatoke for some more level 4 XYZs and another Dark Monster for the Chaos Engine. Shining Angel to search out reptiles, light monsters, but reptiles in this deck, so that could be useful. Worm Victory is an interesting one. It can combo with some other cards you can use, like Book of Eclipse and some interesting things. Not what I'm running, but definitely something that's interesting. You can run these guys with some of the Trap Tricks things, like Trap Tricks by Morello. That's some builds that people are doing. Very interesting. I might try that one day, but currently not what I'm doing. You could also run worms with the Venom bosses, so that's another alternative because you can load the graveyard pretty easily. Worm Call is the other worm support card you kind of have access to. Not currently what I'm using. It could be useful, but I'm not sure. And if you are going to run a full reptile build, Solidarity is an obvious choice. You can also run Seal of Orichalcos because after you set up the field, you'll keep your opponent from special summoning, which is very nice. Curse the Fiend is a really interesting card that can just set up battle positions in the way you want them to be. Yeah, just very interesting for this deck. Upstart Goblin because you're running few monsters, so you can thin your deck a bit with this. Damage equals Reptile, another alternative because of some of the low attack worms that you can use with that. Vanity's Emptiness along with Seal of Orichalcos. Once you set up the field, this can be a very powerful card. And Call the Haunted, just obviously to because you have room for more traps in this deck, so you can use this to get things back that you need. But that's my worm deck. Not that complicated, just setting up the field, bringing out powerful monsters, really annoying your opponent. This deck just focuses on a few monsters, but it has access to a lot of different things, and because of how the extra deck works, there's a lot of different combos and interesting stuff you can do. But if you guys have your own worm decks, you can post below, let me know in the comments. You could talk about, what cards you use, make suggestions for me, that kind of thing. If you like this video, you can subscribe or hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more decks from me, you can check out the description. There's a playlist in there that has a list of all the decks I've made, and there's another playlist right below that that has a list of all the decks I've made for this current ban list. So check that out. And you can also see my contact in there. If you want to, follow me on Twitter, send me a message, all that stuff, you can check out the description for that. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.